Packing memories, unpacking emotions. There is always a sadness about packing. I guess you wonder if where you're going is as good as where you've been. Richard Proenneke. (2012) July, August, and September. I didn't waste any time before packing up our belongings. I scoured depots and supermarkets for empty boxes and armed myself with tape and markers. While I meticulously documented the contents of each box, I took the opportunity to honor the memories tied to each item. This reflective ritual allowed me to begin the process of coming to terms with my failed relationship and everything that had transpired in Panama with Pierre. I carefully packed away the masks we had collected during our spontaneous honeymoon in Mexico, a special reminder of the unconventional journey we had embarked on, choosing to bypass a traditional wedding ceremony. I rolled up the carpets we purchased during our time in the high Atlas Mountains of Morocco, while the colorful fabrics from Guatemala that we used to decorate our pillows and couches were also packed into boxes. Among the countless items, I couldn't ignore Pierre's extensive mountain gear, which had accompanied us on hikes through the mountains of the United States, Morocco, Guatemala, Mexico, Ecuador, Panama, and France. The list of places we had visited seemed endless, and while I cherished them all, each journey had been marred by our constant arguments, which eventually left me weary and drained. Saying goodbye to the life we had built stirred a sense of melancholy inside me. While I treasured the vast experiences we had undertaken together, I couldn't find fulfillment in the way we had lived them. I was left yearning for something more meaningful. By the end of the summer, I had packed our life into 80 boxes and shipped them up to Pierre to store on the farm. Despite the betrayal, I couldn't forget the promise we had made to each other on Roatan, that our relationship was meant to last a lifetime. From that perspective, Pierre's relationship with Audrey felt like a bump in the road, although I wasn't sure how to overcome it. Pierre, however, was focused on Olivier's future and harbored aspirations for him to attain a high-level mastery in Kung Fu. Meanwhile, I saw an opportunity to escape the tense dynamics with Pierre and Audrey. When Pierre suggested sending Olivier back to China to train, I agreed, but for different reasons. Pierre understood Olivier's learning disabilities and believed that intensive Kung Fu training would be more beneficial for him than traditional schooling. He wanted Olivier to leave school and return to China to train full-time. He also wanted Olivier to go alone and believed that complete immersion in traditional training would be best. But I insisted on going with him to ensure that Olivier continued his studies. Like this, I committed to homeschooling the kids while training 8 hours a day, just to get as far away as I could from Pierre and Audrey's love-struck relationship. In the beginning, Olivier seemed open to pursuing his father's dream. However, as our departure date approached and all preparations were made, including our reservation at the Kung Fu Academy, he began to have second thoughts. "Mama, I don't want to go to train in China. I want to stay with my friends," he confided as the day drew near. "Why did you change your mind now, Olivier?" I asked, trying to understand his sudden reluctance. He looked at me with earnest eyes. "I thought I wanted to go because Papa wanted me to, but now I realize I don't want to leave everything behind, my friends, my life here. It's too much." This sudden shift left me in a tough spot. I had invested so much effort into making the arrangements. The logistics were already in motion, and letting go of the house had been a huge decision, all symbolizing a fresh start that made it nearly impossible to revert back to our old life in Panama. "Did you tell this to Papa?" I asked. "No, I'm scared to tell him," he admitted. "Well, if I tell him, he's just going to accuse me of manipulating you. You have to be the one to let him know, Olivier," I said. "You need to tell him the truth if you want us to cancel everything." The opportunity arrived when Pierre came to the city to help with our preparations for the move, but Olivier still couldn't find the courage to be honest with him. Even though I had said I wouldn't be the one to do it, I ended up telling Pierre that Olivier no longer wanted to go train in China. Pierre looked at Olivier and asked, "Is this true, Olivier? You don't want to go train in China?" His voice was stern, and he waited for Olivier's response. Olivier hesitated, but then, concealing his true feelings, answered, "Yes, Papa, I want to go back and train to be a kung fu martial artist." "You see," Pierre said, looking at me triumphantly, "he wants to go." I threw my hands up in the air and returned to my preparations, secretly relieved. I recognized that the thought of leaving his friends and the familiar environment of Panama was daunting for Olivier. At the same time, I felt torn between respecting his feelings and the need for a fresh start away from the turmoil caused by Pierre and Audrey. The idea of settling in Panama and downsizing to a more affordable house crossed my mind, but my fear of being trapped in a monotonous stationary life drove me to hold on to the dream of a new beginning in China. While returning to China meant subjugating my nervous system to overdrive with the assault of unfamiliar smells, the formidable language barrier, and the chaotic surroundings, I wanted to go deeper into the practice and devote more time to train. I explained to Olivier that while I understood his desire to stay, it was important for us to follow through with our plans for China, at least for a while, to give ourselves the space we needed. I may have tried to convince myself that I was doing this for Olivier, but the truth was I needed the move as a way to heal from my trauma. Pierre agreed to the plan, granting permission for me to travel with the kids and offering financial support along the way. Emilie's involvement in martial arts and our journey to China was more of a family decision, influenced by her father and her brother's passion for kung fu and my need to escape. Despite this, Emilie loved everything about China, oblivious to all the uncomfortable things that I felt there, and she was looking forward to returning. The day of our departure arrived all too quickly. We headed to the airport, where the reality of our decision began to set in. But the separation from Pierre wasn't final on the day we left Panama. He accompanied us to the airport, and as we bid farewell, I felt a subtle ache in my heart, knowing he was returning to Audrey. We exchanged a promise to meet again, sidestepping a definitive goodbye. At the airport, I felt a whirlwind of emotions, excitement, anxiety, and an undercurrent of unresolved tension. After we said our goodbye and passed through security, I took my first deep breath of the day and glanced at the children as we walked to the gate. I noticed Olivier's grim expression, while Emilie, in contrast, was jubilant. Her eyes sparkled with anticipation as she talked about the food, the culture, and the people she loved so much. Her enthusiasm was in stark contrast to Olivier's quiet resignation, and it provided a much-needed balance to our emotional spectrum. Emilie was blissfully unaware of the worries that plagued me, and her cheerfulness served as a comforting reminder that there were still things to look forward to in this new phase of our lives.